Big Ten transfer portal predictions, Indiana being disrespected even more by Miami, and a Big Ten team trying to poach another Big Ten coach. We're going to talk about it all. And welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR, presented and brought to you by FanDuel. We appreciate you being here as we are getting ready to talk through the Big Ten football news of the day. That's right. Yesterday, a lot of stuff happened, the transfer portal, everything else. There were so many commitments. Dylan Raiola, Coy Parrish went there. Actually, kind of ruined one of my predictions that I had. I was gonna have like 6 or 8 predictions, and then all these guys just started committing at the end. AJ Harris, I was gonna predict to go to Indiana. Coy Parrish, I was going to predict to go to Oregon, and you know what? They just later on in the day they had to mess me up. I'll have to start recording these things like midday, I guess, or something. But anyway, appreciate you being here, listening into the Big Ten Huddle. We've got a lot to get to in this episode. Please do like, subscribe, 5-star rating, and review on a podcast platform, which definitely helps us out. We're going to get into all of this. Let's go ahead and start. Okay, 5 predictions to the. Well, I shouldn't start it that way. Give me a second. 5 predictions to the Big Ten of the transfer portal. We've got a couple different teams, actually a few different teams we're talking about here. I have 5 predictions, but I have 4 teams that I'm talking about. And as you can see next to me here, one of those teams is Michigan. The first player is from Michigan, or is to go to Michigan, and the last player is to go to Michigan. So stick around for that last one, Michigan fans, if you want to figure out who the last one is as well. This first one that we have, he's technically in the transfer portal, but he just signed as a recruit to Utah, and that is one Salesi Moa to Michigan. He was the top ranked recruit according to On3 in Utah. Although he committed and signed to Utah, he did still enter into the transfer portal, and it does look like he will most likely be coming to Michigan. Now, this is not, this is nothing crazy. A lot of these guys from Utah, a lot of these guys who were committed or enrolled or signed with Utah or played with Utah last year who went to the transfer portal are now coming to Michigan. Michigan has money, good opportunity to win, a lot that they can sell these Utah players to come in for. And on top of that, a lot of these Utah players have their coaches going over to Michigan. So apparently Salesi wanted to give Utah an opportunity to try and figure out who his position coach would be there. And apparently he wants to continue to be coached by, well, not continue, he wants to be coached by the guy he committed to, which is Micah Simon, who is going over to Michigan as well. And since he wants to be coached by Micah Simon, it looks like he is most likely going to be over there. That is my prediction for Salesi Moa to go to Michigan. A lot of buzz out there from On3 24/7. A lot of the same stuff being discussed there. So if you're paying attention to those sites, you've probably seen that as well. The next one I want to get to here is Makhi Frazier from Michigan State. That's right. I think Makhi Frazier is going to be going to Indiana. I've not seen any predictions from anybody out there on this one, but I do think this is something that looks like it will most likely happen. Indiana will host the Michigan State transfer running back Makhi Frazier later this week. I've been told Thursday, but it might happen Friday as well. I don't think it's going to happen on the weekend, so we'll see how it goes. But there was a lot of rumblings that he would go to Texas A&M, and they were very hopeful for that. And that could still happen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it does sound like he is very interested in Indiana, in particular because of Indiana and how dedicated to the run game they are. Indiana could have 2 1,000-yard rushers this year in Robin Hemby and Kalen Black. Now, Roman Hemby already has surpassed 1,000 yards rushing. Kalen Black, I believe he's at 955 yards, so he needs about 50 yards in the national championship game. We'll see if he can get it. If he can get it, then that would be huge for Indiana to kind of, huge. Obviously, winning the national championship would be much bigger, but it would just be a really cool thing for Indiana to have 2 1,000-yard rushers on their team, and both Hemby and Black are going to be moving on after the season, which leaves a starting and backup role at running back wide open for somebody to come in and get. Thought about maybe CJ Baxter at one point. That didn't happen. He's going to Kentucky now. Kind of what I said there, production potential looked like that was going to be tested, but it sounded like Kirk Cinetti did not want him. Did not want him. Maybe I mean, I say that it's not like Kirk Cinetti like kicked him out or something. Ah, get out of here. It's like not like he did that. It's like maybe he didn't want him for the price that he was, whatever it might have been. But they're just I was just told there wasn't enough interest from Cignetti. So whatever that means, who really knows? But Indiana does have a lot of desire to run the ball. They go deep into their running back room. Even Kobe Martin this season has seen a good amount of carries, freshman running back. But you can bring in a guy like Makhi Frazier, who is more of a veteran, and him and Kobe Martin could be running together. And then you also might have Lee Beebe Jr. in this next year as well. He got injured early on in the season. It stinks for him. Obviously, we would love to see Lee Beebe Jr. come back and be able to play. But if that does, if even if Makhi Frazier wins this battle, these are, there's no entrenched starter or anything like that here in place. Makhi Frazier has a pretty open room here to be able to win the starting running back job. And if he does win the starting running back job, you're going to be on a very good Indiana team that, is poised to win the national championship this season. So a lot of smoke there for that to possibly happen. We'll see if it does. Next one is a wide receiver. Washington. Haven't talked enough Washington transfer portal stuff. They've not been as active in the transfer portal. Got a really good recruiting class. They just got Logan George to go on over there. They missed out on a wide receiver, but it does look like Syracuse's wide receiver, Darren Gill Jr., is heading to Washington. Look, they need a replacement for Denzel Boston. There is a very good pitch that Washington can give here saying, look at what we did last year with Denzel Boston. We need somebody to replace him. Now, that could be Desmond Roebuck, right? He could be the replacement. Freshman for Washington did a very good job coming on later, about halfway through the season. And so if you do not have Desmond Roebuck, though, you really don't have, I'm saying you do not have him. If you take Desmond Roebuck out of the competition here, you really don't have anybody else. So even if Gill does not become the Denzel Boston replacement, he would still be a huge part of this wide receiver room, because this season in 2025, he had 32 catches for 506 yards. That is more than the entire rest of Washington's wide receiver room outside of Desmond Roebuck. All of their career stats combined, the career stats combined of this Washington wide receiver room outside of Desmond Roebuck is 36 catches for 434 yards. That's right. Just 4 less catches than the entire room and almost 100 yards more receiving than them. 24/7 was out there rumoring that if DJ Lagway made a commit flip, which is kind of so crazy that we have that in the transfer portal, but it is what it is. You can actually flip back to your school. Washington fans know all about that. But apparently, if DJ Lagway were to go to Ole Miss, then Gill would have likely followed him there to Ole Miss. But it does not look like, according to some of the insiders there at 24/7, that I'm getting my names mixed up here, that Lagway is going to go to Ole Miss. It looks like Lagway is going to keep his commitment to Baylor, which is making people think that Gill might be going to Washington, and that is where I'm going to predict him to go. There was some thought about Gill going to Michigan as well, but Michigan bringing in Jamie French, I would think that Washington would be able to outbid Michigan for a Michigan wide receiver that would probably be 3rd or 4th on the depth chart over one that would probably be 2nd or 3rd on the Washington, maybe even 1st on the Washington depth chart, in my opinion. Number 4, let's look at number 4. Now, I talked about Liam Danitz in our last episode when we were just us talking about some Big Ten battles out there. Liam Danitz is from Hope College. He is very, very freaky athletic, good measurable size, very fast kind of guy. Now, he does play D3 football, so the competition level is not the best, but if you go find Liam Danitz out there on Twitter, he's got some good film. Just go watch it. Just go watch Liam Danitz and how much speed he has. If we had more time, I would bring his film up on here, but he is a special kind of athlete who has not played, who did not play like big time high school football or anything like that, so he kind of went unnoticed. But now with him going to be playing college football most likely for one more year, as long as his waiver passes, and I believe that will pass. We'll see. There seems to be a lot of confidence that it will, but if that waiver does pass, then he'll be playing college football again for one more year, and it sounds like that will be at UCLA. Now, I did not think Danitz would be committing right away, so this is a little bit more of a guess. This is probably the one I'm most unsure about. But the UCLA defensive line coach posted that UCLA is not done yet. And so then you immediately think, okay, well, what's going on here? What could they be talking about? And my first thought was actually Sammy Omosigo. I hope I'm saying that right. The Oklahoma linebacker who's in the portal, but it wouldn't make very much sense for the defensive line coach of UCLA to be tweeting out that they're not done yet and they're landing a linebacker. So that's when I immediately thought of Liam Danitz, who visited last week. Liam got off his visit right before the dead period, and he cannot visit any other place. Now, the dead period does not mean you cannot commit. The dead period just means you cannot visit. All of these coaches can still talk to recruits and everything else. I believe there's some kind of coaches convention going on right now, and they don't want coaches to be, doing transfer portal stuff instead of going to the convention. So I think it's like the end of year coaches convention, and a lot of guys get hired from this kind of stuff too. So it is actually something that's really important to go to, and will be a huge advantage for somebody if they didn't go to this and they were able to, bring guys on campus. So it just makes sense to have, a short little Monday to Wednesday dead period. Like I said, guys can still commit, they just can't come on campus. So like I said, Danitz might be the guy here. We'll see. This is the one I'm probably most unsure about, but it does sound like UCLA is going to be landing somebody most likely tomorrow. You get a GIF and you get a thing like that from one of the coaches, and typically that means something soon. So whether it's Liam, whether it's Sammy, some kind of good news is coming for UCLA. Would be surprised if nothing comes out after we get that kind of news. And then my last one here. Bryson Kuzdzal, all right, the running back from Michigan. He could come back. He could come back, and I think he will come back. When he went to the transfer portal, he set up a visit with Iowa State very quickly. And Iowa State, he did go visit them, but he did not commit right away. And you say, okay, well, he's going to take the rest of his visits. And then he was supposed to go visit Rutgers, and it sounds like he did not ever actually take that visit to Rutgers. He did not go to Rutgers for that visit. It's like, well, okay, maybe he was getting, somebody else coming in for him. Sounded like Georgia was coming in for him. Okay, well, Georgia was afraid they were going to lose Nate Frazier to Ohio State, their starting running back. Ohio State put in a very lucrative offer for Nate Frazier. Sounds like Georgia was able to retain him. Sure, good for Georgia, whatever. But it sounds like Bryson Kuzdzal never actually made that visit because they brought back Nate Frazier and they were no longer interested in Kuzdzal after that. And so you might be saying, well, JR, it makes no sense for Kuzdzal to go back to Michigan. They have Taylor Tatum and Jordan Marshall. He's not going to get reps there. That would be where you would be wrong. Michigan has a deep running back room, but many running backs play in Jason Beck's system. Not, maybe they don't get the most carries in the world, but they do play a lot. Now, Wayshawn Parker and Naquari Rogers, they had a combined snaps last year in Utah's offense with Jason Beck of 431 snaps. When you compare that to Michigan and what they had last year with their snaps, now if you compare it to Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes, it dwarfs it. All right, it's not even comparable, but that's also because Jordan Marshall, Justice Haynes, they dealt with some injuries last year. So let's go ahead and give the snaps of Bryson Kuzdzal as well. Jordan Marshall, Justice Haynes, Bryson Kuzdzal, their combined snaps last year, 402. Two running backs for Utah last year outsnapped three running backs for Michigan, the three running backs that were playing the most for them. That's pretty impressive. Marshall had the most carries out of all of them, but you still saw plenty of playing time, and that's because Utah likes to utilize a lot of different two running back sets, maybe one tight end, two running backs. It's much more likely that they'll go to that than they would, Michigan went to a lot of two tight ends, one running back type of situation. I think in this one, you're going to see more one tight end, two running backs, maybe even 22 personnel of two tight ends, two running backs. We'll see. But that's just kind of the way this Utah offense operates. And with trying to keep guys fresh, I think you're going to see a healthy dose of Taylor Tatum, Jordan Marshall, and Bryson Kuzdzal all being used in this offense. And I think that Bryson Kuzdzal would make a very smart decision to come back to Michigan for that next year. And I think ultimately he'll make that decision. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think about these guys? If you're a Michigan fan, you excited about Salesi, Samoa there to Michigan. Bryson Kuzdzal, you want him back. Washington fans, what do you think about Darrell Gill Jr. to you guys? Would love to know what everybody is thinking here, and let me know. So like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you're listening on podcast, 5-star rating always helps out. We'll be right back talking about Indiana versus the Miami offensive line versus the Indiana defensive line. Indiana defensive line is being slept on once again as Miami fans are talking all about their enormous size on the offensive line. Now, you would think this wouldn't happen with many people talking about the Indiana, how old they are and everything else. And you'd think you'd have all these big guys in your defensive line. But in fact, you do not, because Indiana loves to play football a certain way. And we're going to look at the film and show you a little bit of that here. But before we do that, I want to remind you a little bit of what these Miami fans have been saying. And not just Miami fans, it's been some SEC fans too. But a lot of these SEC fans shut up about it after they saw how big the Alabama offensive line was and how they were virtually no match for the Indiana defensive line, who completely tore them apart in that game. And we're going to show you some film from that. So the Miami offensive line, you have right tackle Francis Maugoa. I apologize. I'm going to say some of these names wrong. I just think it's saying names. All right, 6'6", 335 pounds. Right guard Anez Cooper, 6'6", 350 pounds. James Brockermeyer, 6'3", 295 pounds. And then they have two different guys that play left guard, Samson Okulola and Matthew McCoy. Appreciate you having an easy name to say there, Matthew. Both about 6'6", 325 pounds. I think McCoy might be like 330 or something like that, but about the same size between the two of them. There's really no drop off. And then of course the left tackle, 6'9", 340 pounds, Markel Bell. The largest defensive lineman for Indiana is Tyreek Tucker, who is listed at only 6 foot 302 pounds. If you've been on Twitter, you've probably seen a picture of Markel Bell and Tyreek Tucker next to each other, and it is not the most flattering picture in the world for Tyreek Tucker, as he does kind of dwarf Markel Bell there. So Tyreek Tucker, 6 foot 302 pounds, is the largest defensive lineman Indiana has. Daniel Ndukwe is 6'3", but weighs only 240 pounds when you talk about him. Let me double check that. I still can't believe the size of some of these Indiana offensive linemen. You go to the website of the Indiana roster, and yep, 6'3", 244 pounds is his official listed size there on the Indiana website. I mean, it is pretty spectacular. They have some of the guys at the size that they are playing on this defensive line. Not that it's like bad or anything. I love it because it screams how good, how well coached, and how good this team is that they're doing it this way. In addition to that, Mikel Kamara, 265 pounds, only standing 6'1". Dominic Radcliffe, he is 6'3", 295 pounds. You could probably say he's the biggest defensive lineman because of his height there, but the heaviest one is definitely Tyreek Tucker at 302. And then Mario Landino, 6'4", 284 pounds. Now, with me listing off all those guys, Indiana only has one over 300 pounds, and almost every single guy that in Miami starts, other than their center, which makes sense, is over 300 pounds. You'd think, all right, well, Miami should be able to tear Indiana apart in the run game. They shouldn't be able to get by them. Well, teams have thought that this season. It's not exactly worked out for them. So let's see a couple clips here. And if you're listening on podcast, I do apologize, but this might just be one of those ones that you want to go to YouTube and check us out. We appreciate our podcast listeners so much, and you all have been fantastic. There's just sometimes I need to actually show people without trying to explain it. So here is a pass rush from Tyreek Tucker against Isaiah World of Oregon. And this just shows how important it is to not just be somebody with size, but to have somebody that is agile and able to kind of not be sloppy big. And Isaiah World is a really good left tackle. He's had some moments where he wasn't as good this season. He struggled when Dennis Sutton would kind of get up into him and push him back a little bit more. But this is just a really good move here by Mikel Kamara. Let's go ahead and watch. Boop, boop, spin, and Isaiah World on his butt. I mean, and look at it. He's all sprawled out right there. I mean, that's a pretty crazy move right there. Doop, doop, spin, on his butt, leveraging his size. And because he is so much smaller, Makhi Kamara, than Isaiah World, who Isaiah World is, I think I wrote it down here. Isaiah World is 6'8", 318 pounds. So he's a little bit smaller, but not much than Markel Bell, the left tackle of Miami. Now, Markel Bell, I think, is going to be a much more highly coveted prospect in the NFL than Isaiah World is. But still, it just goes to show that even at that size, you're going to have issues, pass protecting against a guy like Makhi Kamara, who can utilize his weight in such a way that gets you shifting your weight back and forth, and then without you being able to shift back, you're just falling on your butt, all sprawled out, and that's kind of the way Isaiah World was there. All right, let's move back. Let's move to some of the Alabama film here. All right, so at 2:52, Kamara beats Caden Proctor on this one. Let me bring it up here. I gotta scroll here. I should have set this up beforehand. All right. And I got to play this at like slowed down speed so that way YouTube doesn't get mad at me, but just bear with me. So Caden Proctor is going to beat Caden Proctor. Makhi Kamara is going to beat Caden Proctor here, the left tackle, who is 6'7", 366 pounds. Huge, all right? He's going to beat him, inside, beats him so well. The running back passes him by. I mean, he's running route, so it's not that big of a deal, but still, he's going to get to the inside. Ty Simpson, good sidestep there, but then look at Tyreek Tucker here, beating Cam Dewberry, who is 6'4", 332 pounds, and hitting him. Now, they don't get to him to, bring him down for the tackle or anything like that, but it's still very impressive those guys are able to get by their guys like that. We'll watch it one more time here. Watch Makhi Kamara utilize his weight against Caden Proctor, 366. He just doesn't have the agility to stay with a guy like Makhi Kamara like that. He gets a little bit of a step, which, props to Caden Proctor. He was even able to get a hand on him. Isaiah World wasn't even able to get a hand on him, but he gets around him. The bend there of Caden Proctor looks like he's in desperation mode, utilizing his hands, getting around. Caden Proctor has no choice but to try and hold, gets him a little bit there, but nothing much. Tyreek Tucker, if you go back and watch where he was, he just keeps moving to the side and taking away Dewberry there. Excellent play here by Indiana. Would have been better if they had actually gotten to Ty Simpson and brought him down, but Ty Simpson is on the run, moving around. He has no other place to go. All right, let's move to 13:30 I have written down. This is one where Tyreek Tucker beats Parker Brailsford to take out Cam Dewberry to free up Landino in the run game. So we saw some pass rushing. Here's some run game. I want you to pay attention right here. The nose tackle, Tyreek Tucker, going up against the center, Parker Brailsford. He is going to cut into the left guard here for Alabama, which is going to bring Mario Landino. He's going to go on a bit of a stunt here in the run game, which is kind of risky to do, but Indiana does it so well. He's going to go on a stunt here over Tyreek Tucker, bring himself into the middle all by himself, and he has the good enough size that he is able to take him out. Now, again, Mario Landino here playing defensive tackle, essentially. I mean, he's inside the tackle here, essentially playing defensive tackle for Indiana at 6'4", 284 pounds, and they can't do anything because of the schematics here of Indiana. See how he's going to move to the side. It does kind of go in their favor because Alabama uses zone gap scheme or zone running scheme here, not gap scheme, zone scheme here, which I do not love personally, but it's what they do. Maybe they change up their run game and it'll be different. But Tyreek Tucker just picks. I mean, you can tell it's intentional. He's putting his head down. He is running into Cam Dewberry there, picks him, and then when all the slush is out of the way, who's left in the middle? That's right, Mario Landino makes the tackle, and the Alabama offensive line isn't athletic enough to even reach the second level before you have three Indiana defenders all there to bring him down. So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that Indiana has been doing all season long that teams have really not had an answer for. And like I said, it's kind of risky to do if you don't do it well. That's one of the reasons why not every team is out here doing this kind of stuff. But when you do it well, it is really, really good. All right, another pick here by Tyreek Tucker to free up Kamara. I believe this is a pass rushing one. So just showing you how they utilize the pick in different ways. Actually, this one might be another rushing one. So here, we'll watch it and then we'll get back to it. So watch Tyreek Tucker here in the middle. the way he's going to be utilized to pick for Kamara, who's over here on the side. Yeah, I have to play it at such a slow volume. Oh no, sorry, not picking for Kamara there. He is able to pick and free up the 3 linebackers there to be able to make the play there in the middle. So, oh, that's the next one. The next one's Kamara. I apologize. So essentially, what you have here is the Indiana defensive line. They all confuse the offensive line for Alabama, right? Because you have the bear front here. You have 5 guys down, right? And so you're going to have all 5 guys here on the line of scrimmage. Well, you're going to send 3. You're going to drop this guy into coverage. These 2 linebackers are both going to stay and play linebackers, Jones and Aiden Fisher. And then by Indiana utilizing their pick method with essentially all 3 guys, they are going to take up 1, 2, 3, 4 Alabama offensive linemen, which leaves Aiden Fisher, Isaiah Jones, easy tackle there in the middle. Because they are taking up so many of those guys, Alabama can't climb to the next level. You get an easy double tackle there for Jones and Fisher, who are already good enough linebackers. They don't need to double tackle, but that's how good they are. So next one, this is a little bit later. All right. So next one here, this is actually when Austin Mack was in the game. I believe this is a pass rushing one. So watch how Tucker frees up Kamara with a pick in this one as well. Tucker, I believe, is right there. They do this with Tucker all the time. He's utilized in this way all the time. Watch Tucker come in, moves to the side, boom, 3 blockers right there for Alabama. 3 blockers. Kamara climbs in. He's going to get to the quarterback. Now you are able to have the time to do something like this more because you're there in the red zone. Indiana drops 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 into coverage. Alabama has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're out there to get passes. So it's no wonder that Indiana is so good in their zone, pass defense against other teams because they're only sending 4 guys here, and Alabama has no other choice but to use 5, sometimes 6 guys to block for their quarterback because Indiana does such a good job of using 1 defensive lineman to take up multiple offensive linemen and free up the other ones. Makhi Kamara, again, he doesn't make the sack here, but he does get Austin Mack to flush the pocket. And the zone scheme with the way it's set up is able to pick him up pretty quick, and then you get Kamara and the defender making the tackle there. It all works in so much symmetry together. Defensive line, the way it starts there, the zone, everything else. I'll show you one more here. I believe this is another pass rush. I'll have to see for sure. 29-24. All right, so watch all these guys here on the defensive line. So this is what we call simulated pressure. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 guys lined up on the line of scrimmage. One, yes, is very wide out here, but still 7 guys down there. Watch what Indiana does. Aiden Fisher is going to show the blitz. He's going to retreat out of it. Makhi Kamara retreats. Isaiah Jones retreats, and you have. Even Mario Landino is out here retreating. Who are you sending? You're sending 1, 2, 3, 4. You're sending, what is that? 1 defensive lineman to go in there. And then you have 2 defensive backs freely blitzing here, and you only have 1 offensive lineman to block them. Yes, the running back does come in there, but Austin Mack is so affected by the pressure, he throws the ball out, and I believe that was an incompletion. We can play it here and see. Yeah, that was when the dude got lit up there on the side. So, I mean, this stuff is beautiful, what Indiana does here, and it's one of the reasons why their defensive line is able to be dominant, even against some of these larger offensive lines that they face. One more time, we'll show it. Watch. I believe it's 7 over here that comes on the blitz. You're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 defensive linemen in there, and you're really only going to send 1, maybe 2. I think you send 2. And then you're going to send the 2 defensive backs. Yep, 17. I apologize. I forget who 17 is. And Tucker there, I believe, and then the 2 defensive backs. So, I mean, this is nasty stuff, guys. This is nasty stuff what Indiana is able to do. It's one of the reasons why Miami can't rely on just having a big offensive line. They're gonna have to, be smarter than that. You're gonna have to not be sloppy, and they're gonna have to know exactly what's going on pre-snap. But Indiana's not cheating. They're just really, really good. Thanks for watching this. We'll be right back. We have got ourselves a bit of a battle going on between Nebraska and USC for one of the best assistant coaches in the country. Nebraska would love to hold on to this assistant coach, and USC would love to bring him in and be a major part of Lincoln Riley trying to revitalize this USC program and bring them back to the playoffs. We'll see if it can happen, but overall, this would be a huge move for USC, who is out here looking for a special teams coordinator. Now, if you're a Nebraska fan, you heard me say special teams coordinator, and you just took a little bit of a gulp. I get it. Let's talk about the guy who is the special teams coordinator for Nebraska. That's right, Mike Eckler. So this tweet came out from Fight on Rusty, aka Arrogant Nation. If you've ever interacted with USC fans, you've most likely seen him out there. And he is somebody. Yes, he has a dog as his picture, but he is somebody who does call things out with USC quite often, and sometimes it's trolling, and sometimes it's right. In this instance, kind of thought maybe it was trolling a little bit. He's messing with Nebraska fans. And then we got a message from 24/7 with one of their insiders saying, hey, this isn't a joke. This could be true. I checked with some people, and it does sound like USC is trying to lure Mike Eckler away from Nebraska. Now, again, I say this because it's already been leaked out there on Twitter anyway, so I don't feel bad sharing this kind of stuff when it's already been leaked out there. But this is what apparently USC is trying to do, trying to bring Mike Eckler, the special teams coordinator for Nebraska, into USC. Now, we're not exactly clear on the way everything would be, but in my mind, there is no doubt that Mike Eckler is one of the best, if not the best, special teams coordinators in all of college football. He did a fantastic job at Nebraska. It's like him and LeVar Woods are the two guys up there for me. So Mike Eckler, in his first year at Nebraska, 2025, he improved the special teams from, wait for it, 125th in the nation to number 1 nationally in terms of points generated, and he was number 4 overall in special teams efficiency. He led Nebraska to a top 20 national ranking in 5 special teams categories in 2025. He led them to top 20 in blocked kicks, kickoff returns, and punt returns as well. There's 5 different special teams categories there. That's just a few of them. But he did a fantastic job with Nebraska this year. He did a fantastic job at Tennessee as well. They had a punt return average of 13.9 over 4 years, which ranked them as first or second best in the SEC each year. He had 8 blocked punts and allowed just 138 punt return yards during his Tennessee tenure. I mean, he is a fantastic special teams coach. He does a great job, and he is somebody that you would love to have on your side if you could get him there. And obviously, USC is trying to get him there. Eckler does have some history with USC. He was the linebackers coach at USC back when Lane Kiffin was there in 2013. Only spent a year there, but he did spend 1 year as a linebackers coach at USC. Comparatively, he was the linebackers coach at Nebraska from 2008 to 2010. So still a while ago, but that is his home for him. Eckler grew up in David City, Nebraska, and it was rumored that one of the big reasons why he took the Nebraska job over Tennessee, staying at Tennessee, was because he did want to move back home closer to his family, and David City, Nebraska is less than an hour away from Lincoln, Nebraska. So Eckler he's from Nebraska. It sounds like to me Eckler still has years on his contract. I mean, they wouldn't just sign him for 1 year. They probably wouldn't even sign him for just 2 years with, as good of a coordinator he is and everything. And if USC wants to steal him away, they're going to have to offer quite a bit to him. So right now, at Nebraska, he's making about $625,000 a year, which for a special teams coordinator is really good money. All right. I mean, a lot of these guys are just analysts for some of these teams that have them. Not everybody still has the art of a special teams coordinator on their team, but Nebraska does, and it obviously has paid dividends for them this year. Nebraska is most likely going to give him a raise at some point of 700 to 750,000, but that's not happened yet. So there is a little bit of concern about why the raise has not been given or the contract extension, whatever it might be. And that would even be without USC coming after him. If USC did decide to come after, after Mike Eckler and give him a very lucrative deal, that would be pretty enticing. And not only that, if you gave him the job of linebackers coach and special teams coordinator, that might be even more enticing for Mike Eckler to leave Nebraska to go there. And if you do that, I mean, it's not likely that position coaches and special teams coordinators make $1 million, but if you really wanted Mike Eckler, and trust me, he's worth the money with everything he's done in his career, they could try to pay him up to $1 million and make him the linebacker coach and the special teams coordinator. Now, he would want to have to do that. We'll see. But this would be really interesting if that did happen. Eckler does have a history of not staying put very long. His longest tenure was 2021 to 2024 at Tennessee, so only 4 seasons there. He's been kind of around the block quite a bit. He spent 3 years at Nebraska as a linebacker coach. He spent 3 years at LSU as a GA, but he's really not been anywhere longer than 2 years other than those places in Tennessee. He was at Indiana as a co-defensive coordinator and linebackers coach for 2 years. He was at North Texas as the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach for a year. He's at North Carolina as a linebackers coach for a couple years. Kansas, Kansas State is his alma mater, I believe. But Kansas, he was there as the special teams coordinator and the inside linebackers coach for only a year before he left to be the special teams coordinator only at North Texas. So very, very interesting stuff about Mike Eckler, his history, and where he might go. Obviously, this would be an incredible pickup for USC. USC is a program that has had an incredible offense under Lane Kiffin, but there's obviously needed to be more of an emphasis on special teams and more of an emphasis on defense. And it does sound like Lincoln Riley is trying to make some of these changes as a head coach. He's talking about getting a head coach of the defense. We talked about that in the with Zach on Sunday night with the defensive coordinator and people that could be that possibly kind of stuff. And then we talk about a special teams coordinator here. This would continue to elevate Lincoln Riley as a coach, and I think that even if USC does not get Mike Eckler, I think this is a really good sign for USC that Lincoln Riley is continuing to evolve and become more of that kind of CEO head coach. I don't know if he'll ever give up play calling. I feel like that's probably not in the cards for Lincoln Riley, but if he can at least give up some of this other stuff and really focus in on getting quality head coach or quality coaches, assistant coaches for him as the head coach, it could be really, really beneficial for this USC team going forward. Overall, if I had to give a prediction here on what I feel like is going to happen, I feel like Eckler stays at Nebraska. This just feels like someplace that Eckler wants to go, be there for as long as he can to, kind of, and Eckler's the type of guy that even if Rule got fired, which I'm not saying Rule's getting fired, okay, don't hear me say that, but even if Rule did get fired, they'd want to keep Eckler around because he's just that kind of coach. He's just that kind of guy that can do crazy good things for you on special teams, and especially with the emphasis that teams like Iowa and Minnesota, especially Iowa, put into their special teams, you have to have an answer for that kind of stuff, and Mike Eckler is a huge part of making that happen. So I'd love to know what you all think. Nebraska fans, USC fans, let me know. USC fans, is this like a must get for you? Go give him the $1 million, let me know. And then Nebraska fans, are you confident that you could hold on to Mike Eckler even with USC calling, maybe offering more money, maybe offering the linebacker coach job? Heck, maybe they're going to offer him the defensive coordinator job. I don't know. Probably not, but that would be kind of funny if they offered the defensive coordinator job. He has experience. He's been a defensive coordinator, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Nebraska will hold on to Eckler, but it could be close, and we'll see what happens. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We definitely appreciate it. So That is the Big Ten Huddle for you in this episode. Thank you so much for listening, whether you've been on YouTube or on podcast. Whatever you do, though, please do like, subscribe, 5-star rating and review. All those good things help as well. Look, once you start liking and we get a good like right here, I'll stop asking all the time in the middle of the video. I might only ask once in a video, but until that happens, I do need to keep asking and keep asking you to comment, share your thoughts, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. 5-star rating and review always helps out on the podcast platform as well. Thank you so much for listening or watching, however you consume this podcast. And we'll be back, me and Zach, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. live to preview the Indiana and Miami game. We probably won't do predictions. We'll probably save our predictions until Sunday night since the game is on Monday, but preview the game a little bit in a segment and talk about it there. So thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Have a good one.